Investigators examining the scene of the second deadly crash on the Hunters roads in less than 12 hours. Two sedans collided on Mitchell Line Road at Singleton just after 7:30 this morning. The impact sent both cars down embankments on opposite sides of the road.
Unfortunately, as a result of that, a 63-year-old male driver of one of the vehicles was worked on the scene extensively by New South Wales Ambulance, but unfortunately passed away at the scene.
The 32-year-old male driver of the white sedan and a 53-year-old female passenger in the red car were trapped for a short time before being taken to a waiting Westpac rescue helicopter. The woman suffered suspected spinal injuries, while the man received injuries to his leg. Both were airlifted to John Hunter Hospital in a stable condition. Another woman in the red sedan was treated for minor injuries. Traffic was diverted around the scene before the road eventually reopened around 2:30. All up, a tragic period on the region's roads.
All I can say at this stage, it was wet weather at the time, had been raining. The other factors are under investigation by the Crash Investigation Unit.
So far this year, 23 people have lost their lives on northern New South Wales roads. It's prompted an urgent message from police.
All of the messages are out there, they're all there to see. It's don't trust your tired self, drive to the speed limits, drive to the conditions, especially in the wet weather. All the messages are there in relation to fatigue, speed, drink driving and drug driving. I think we need motorists just to really heed those messages.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
It's a decision that's weighed heavily, but one Greg Thompson says ultimately had to be made.
I leave with a sad heart because there are good people I'm working with, but I think it's time for me to begin a new chapter.
Stepping down as the Anglican Bishop of Newcastle to heal, a position he's held for 3 years, but one that has come at a huge personal cost.
I came to an environment which I was blindsided to. I came in an environment where I had to find out things, and I was confronted by behaviour which said to me that this was still underway in the diocese. Not that child abuse is still happening, but the cover-up and the deceit.
During last year's Royal Commission in Newcastle, he told of systemic abuse and shocking cover-ups within the church. But it's the backlash after speaking publicly about his own abuse at the hands of a former bishop and senior clergyman that has taken the greatest toll.
It had a traumatic effect on me. I hadn't really thought about what public shame was going to be like.
He's due to give evidence before the Royal Commission again tomorrow. Hopeful the pain will one day make way for the good.
I believe in Newcastle there's been serious momentum for change because the church itself has woken up to it.
We will be different as a result of his ministry. There's a deep commitment in the diocese to make sure that we do the right thing by those who've been harmed in the past and to protect people into the future.
My legacy is the change that is underway, and I feel like that's a good thing I'm leaving behind.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
A range of buyers, both locally, nationally and offshore, to purchase Tier 1 earth moving equipment, as well as your local farmers and guys with workshops that will come and buy the tooling and the light vehicles and that sort of gear as well.
Hidden away on Hunter Street, what may well be the future of mental health support.
I guess it's not until you come inside that you really see what happens here.
The Open Plan office features an alternative approach to treatment. There are no obligations, people can come and go as they like. Administration staff work upstairs, while downstairs, gone is the formal setting, replaced with games, arts and craft, a gym, a kitchen and even a vegetable garden, and a place that feels like home.
It's the biggest and the first in Newcastle. There's no other service like this where people with mental health issues can come in and be involved in certain activities that assist them with their recovery.
Since opening 12 months ago, the centre has helped around 200 people, a number that will soon double, through workers like Alana, who has her own experiences with mental health to draw on.
Sometimes they have a look of shock, like, what, you're a worker and you seem like you've got it together and you suffer as well, so it makes them feel equal and it's a really powerful tool for sure.
And Flourish Australia is confident the approach is a success.
It's an opportunity for people to come in and really identify what it is that they need so that they can eventually go out in the community and live independently without this type of support being available all the time for them.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Bin Collection Day in the Lake Macquarie suburb of West Wallsend is the highlight of 4-year-old Lincoln Hills Week. Lincoln loves trucks, garbage ones in particular, and Dave recently added to his collection with a birthday gift.
Just to make a little bloke happy like that, well, it's a good thing to do.
Little Lincoln suffered a stroke at birth, which brought its share of medical issues, but that doesn't stop him making sure he's there with a wave for Dave each week.
With 5 games to go, they're 3 points outside the top 6, but a place in the finals remains the bare minimum for the Jets.
It's more a consistency thing rather than a quality thing. We've got enough quality and we've got the ability, we just need to be consistent.
Bogard and Duncan return to the starting 11 for the clash with City.
Jack will play. He's ready to play, and that's good news for us. He's done a magnificent job all year, and hopefully keeps a clean sheet on Saturday night.
Duncan says he would have been happy to back up Tomislav Archibald following the veteran's effort against the Raw.
If he keeps his spot for the next 5 games and we go on to win the title, I've got no problem with that. I'm happy for the team and happy for the club.
Young defender Ivan Vujica also returns to the squad as Jones rewards those fighting for spots.
And that's the way it should be, and that's the way it is in every sport and in every country, and we need to be like that. And Ivan's done a tremendous job, so I'll find a place for him in the squad.
Vujica's likely to start on the bench, but the coach won't be joining him after picking up a sideline ban. The players say they won't be affected following a strong win over City in January.
We went up there, we were solid defensively, we scored 2 good goals on the counter, and we take a lot of confidence out of that performance, and definitely we go down there with a lot of belief.
He was a guest at today's Beaufort Club lunch, but last night Wayne Harris was front and centre.
The first inductee, Wayne Harris.
Harris rode a record 558 winners as an apprentice and won a golden slipper at 18 before a brain tumour at 22 threatened to end his career.
Come back and be successful again and ride in 10 different countries around the world and over 2,000 something winners. I didn't really keep count, but then winning a Melbourne Cup and then having to retire a year after, that's pretty disappointing in a way, but it's a pretty good resume to have.
Despite the setbacks, the legend from Muswellbrook hasn't lost his sense of humour.
It sounds like they should make a movie about you.
They were thinking of it one time, but they couldn't get anyone handsome enough to play me, so...
The next inductee was equally impossible to overlook.
Robert Thompson.
I left school when I was 14 and a half, come down here, had a barrier trial, got my ticket, and then following month I had my first ride here at Newcastle. I've always said Newcastle's the best track I've ever rode on.
The two trainers were Paul Perry and the late Max Lees.
It's a great honour for my father to be inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside Paul Perry, and I suppose they're the two trainers who have stood out in this area for such a long time, and very fitting reward for both.
God, there's a lot of good trainers in Newcastle in the past years, and I think I'm so lucky to have my family who are all part of the business.
Max's famous Golden Slipper winner Luskin Star was one of two horses included, while thoroughbred breeder Alf Ellison and caller Billy Hill rounded out the group.
I think one of the things that came to mind was, a session reflecting on my personal story, realising I may not have been the only person, and that was a profound impact on me, that I had thought I was the only one. And then as I came to see the files, as I came to hear the stories and accounts of survivors, I realised this was an endemic history in the diocese, and that the culture was still in place in not addressing it. And only good can come from this. I know there's a lot of pain as well, but only good can come where people are prepared to face reality and face the truth of it. I came to an environment which I was blindsided to. I came in an environment where I had to find out things, and I was confronted by behaviour which said to me that this was still underway in the diocese. Not that child abuse is still happening, but the cover-up and the deceit and the orchestration to protect perpetrators. I don't regret anything about coming here. Probably I would have a greater sense of what to do now looking back, but I didn't know what to do when I came here in terms of this history. There's no handbook on addressing child abuse. There's no guidelines for bishops in addressing these matters. You have to work it out as you go along. And I've had good people working with me. The Church's history has been examined and is being examined, so we can move forward on the basis of honesty and trust again. Like when people know that there's been deceit by the Church and people continue to speak of it as something in the past and they're not quite sure they can trust the Church now. But I believe in Newcastle there's been serious momentum for change because the Church itself has woken up to it, woken up to the truth about its life. When people have fought over doctrine and sexuality and have forgotten that this child abuse has been such a deceit, my legacy is that there is an honesty about what's happened in our life, Because fundamentally this abuse story is about power. It's about the abuse of power. And so the legacy is about leaders who will be honest about what they're doing and be accountable for what they do. There are lots of things that we are doing that's putting in place, and my legacy is the change that's underway, and I feel like that's a good thing I'm leaving behind. I leave with a sad heart because there are good people I'm working with, but I think it's time for me to begin a new chapter.
Newcastle Night star Jared Mullen has been handed a 4-year ban by ASADA after testing positive to a banned steroid. Reporter Samuel Jordan joins us live. And Sam, was this result a surprise?
It wasn't a surprise, Tash, but it was certainly a long time coming. Almost 4 months after he failed his drug test, Jared Mullen was today handed a 4-year ban. But this saga is far from over. The NRL has confirmed Mullen will take his case to the Anti-Doping Tribunal, no doubt to try and reduce the severity of the punishment and to try and avoid this being career-ending. No date has been set for that hearing, but it will be set sometime in the next few weeks, so this drama isn't over yet.
Thank you, Sam. Samuel Jordan reporting there.
I just can't implore you enough. Do not drive through floodwaters. We've had enough people die after being trapped in floodwaters in cars over the last number of years, and we plead with you not to do it again this weekend.
The comprehensive study of 23 Anglican dioceses found more than 1,100 complaints of child sexual abuse were made between 1980 and 2015. 63 of those were received by the Newcastle diocese, while of the 569 known alleged perpetrators, 45 studied at the notorious St John's College at Morpeth. During questioning by the council assisting, outgoing Newcastle Bishop Greg Thompson criticised the absence of a unified approach to child protection within the church.
I'm really disappointed that the national church hasn't been galvanised for years to have a common national response.
Claiming his own attempts to incite change have been undermined by tribal and vested interests.
In trying to deliver change as the bishop and leader, I've had to manage the extremes of Anglo-Catholic and evangelical disputes over these matters.
Bishop Thompson, who resigned only yesterday, went on to describe the past culture experienced in Newcastle as one that bred abuse.
I think what we've seen in the Diocese of Newcastle is this developed mentoring where predators have exercised authority over a lot of young men, in particular, young boys.
The bishop is one of 33 witnesses called to give evidence before the Royal Commission. The public hearing will resume on Monday. Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
Parents grieving one of the most heartbreaking of losses, the death of a child.
So I don't know how we're holding ourselves together, really. I think we're just trying to be strong for our family. If they see us breaking down, they must think we're weak. but we're holding it for him.
At just 19 years old, Tim Cox had the world at his feet. Nurturing and loyal with a heart of gold, he was training to become a mechanic. But that promising future came to an untimely end late Wednesday night when he crashed into a power pole at Bishop's Bridge.
We think he was overtaking his girlfriend. He's tried to come back in and somehow has lost control of the car.
And then to get the phone call, I had to give it to Peter. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't believe it. I just thought it was all a story. And the shock, it hits you so hard.
The community is rallying around the family, including his 3 sisters.
Tim's parents are using their own heartbreak to issue an important message to other drivers. They want them to take care on the roads to avoid another tragedy.
I think young ones should slow down. I think they should check their tyres as well. I think this could have been part of the reason it happened. And don't be an idiot on the road in the wet.
Take it easy.
Michelle and Peter are now faced with finding the funds to farewell their son. But Tim's friends and relatives are making that a little easier financially through a GoFundMe page.
I think they can see we've been battlers. We've done it tough. I can't thank anyone enough out there for their support and love that they're giving us at this time. It's just something you just didn't think to experience at this early time.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
We've got industry, academics and students getting involved around a discussion of the transformational change of Newcastle.
There's a lot of organisations in Newcastle doing a lot of fantastic work, and this event is about bringing those organisations together, celebrating the work that's already been done and looking at what we can do in the future.
I was growing my hair and my little sister got diagnosed with cancer and I was going to shave it off for her, but then she passed away. So I'm going to donate it. I'm donating it to a girl that doesn't have it, and I just thought hair doesn't matter really.
"335 days in the making. When the Knights broke through for last weekend's win, the emotion was clear to see.
It was electric. The fans were just going crazy. It was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable feeling for me to be out there, hearing the Newcastle chant and seeing all the smiling faces out in the crowds. We're hoping we feel it again tomorrow.
Elliott knows he's going to be tested tomorrow. His second NRL game at fullback, the conditions are going to be extreme.
We did a bit of practice out there today, and we've practiced in the rain a few times this week, so I'll be confident out there.
Last week, the Rabbitohs were buoyed by the return of Adam Reynolds. Newcastle is well aware of just how dangerous his kicking game will be.
Organisation is a big thing, but his main thing is a kicking game, and if we can shut down their forwards, as we spoke about before, limit the good ball kicking he gets, and try and take that out of the game.
Shutting down the forwards will go a long way to winning the game. Souths have dominated the Knights in recent times.
We still won't shy away from what we've been doing. We'll still play in our shape that we have been. Obviously, you've got to adapt to the conditions and play a bit smarter, but we won't go into a shell and play the bash-up footy they probably want us to play.
The match is also new recruit Robbie Farah's 250th. He's never won a milestone match.
Well, hopefully for us we can get another win at home.
Rain and howling wind. It was an ominous final session for the Jets and an attitude to match.
For me, it's make or break. We have to take every game like a cup final now, and that's what it is.
14 days since their last game, the Jets believe the break has been a benefit.
Not only physically but mentally as well. Get the mind off things a little bit.
A chance, they say, to get back to the basics. Wayne Brown in midfield and Alexander Coco up front are both likely to start again. And while the extended spell has given them more time to work together, playing against each other in Finland means they're already familiar.
The last 10 days hasn't made a difference to me. I know how he plays and what his strengths are. I think the injuries affected him. In pre-season it was a bit stop-start. But as I said, his goal scoring record speaks for itself. 100 goals in 200 games.
As always, Andrew Naboot will help spearhead the attack. In the two A-League fixtures Jets and City have played, only Naboot and Bruno Fornaroli have scored a combined tally of 6 goals.
I find that I go into the game with a lot more confidence, just knowing that I have done it before, so there's no reason why I can't do it again, and it's no different this weekend.
And it's taking those opportunities that'll be so important for the Jets.
If we get 1 or 2 chances, we have to bury them.
For Labor, it's a case of deja vu.
We've got the Office of State Revenue, we've got Office of Liquor, Gaming and Racing, Multicultural New South Wales.
This week, the government announced it will close its New South Wales Trainlink call centre in Newcastle, the 6th to go in the past 2 years.
It's absolutely appalling. This says to me that this government should be creating jobs, not getting rid of jobs.
The decision affects 71 employees who the union claims will now have to compete for a limited number of positions at a lower wage.
One announcement after another from this government quite clearly shows their contempt for the people of Newcastle. 1 minute they're ripping up the railway line, next minute they're privatising the transport up there.
That's not equitable or fair. That's local Newcastle workers being given a very bad deal.
Transport for New South Wales says the office will be merged with its existing service centre in Newcastle later this year, streamlining services and removing unnecessary duplication, ensuring customers continue to receive the same high level of service. Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
Even though Beat had moved away from Curry only as far as Newcastle during his life, he once again belongs to Curry in the form of this mural.
Mother of three, Stephanie Prosser, can't understand why anyone would want to build a service station next to a childcare centre.
A petrol station right next door is just not the right neighbour.
The proposal is to bulldoze these two homes to make way for a petrol station and convenience store just metres from the Ellamore Vale Early Learning Centre.
If this proposal goes ahead, I've got serious doubts about whether we can remain at the centre.
Director Cameron Miskin says he only found out about the development by chance, concerned an increase in traffic on Crowdis Road will only end badly. It's feared because the road is already so busy, it'll only be a matter of time before there's a serious accident.
It's actually quite dangerous. You've got to be really concentrating when it's time to pick up and drop off the kids already.
We've also got concerns about vehicles lining up to get out, the fumes that are attendant with that as well, coming directly into our yard with the prevailing winds.
Do we need another service station in this area? There's one around the corner, there's two major ones on the highway around the corner. It just lacks common sense.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
The crowd starting to left. Le Romain takes the lead. Winks is just cruising up on the outside. But all conditions, all distances, all challenges. Here's Sweet 16 for Winks, making it back-to-back wins in the George Rider. Le Romain 6 lengths away second. Chautauqua third. Taraki fourth.
Unbelievable what she can do.
Richo, I'm going to you. You're with Chris Waller.
Well, Chris.
You know, we're on a heavy 10, she's gone out hard, and then she's gone for home early, and then, look, she gets tired the last bit, but that's understandable. She's a real force in this final.
They haven't reopened the market yet, Greg, but I can see what they're doing at the moment. This will probably head to the Newcastle heat.
It looks pretty good also.
Looks pretty good. So it's taking shape. We've only got one more heat of the country championships, which will be run at Albury.
The car park was full and the hill was packed.
I think it's been one of the biggest days of hockey outside of our grand finals.
All for a glimpse of two of hockey's biggest stars, Jamie Dwyer and Matt Dawson, Australian teammates, today turned opponents.
I thought it'd be pretty big. I didn't expect it to be this big, to be honest.
A promotion for the season opener, it certainly worked. Dwyer, the now retired all-time great, was playing for West in his first game since the Rio Olympics, not that you could tell. And Dawson back at Norths, his boyhood club, for the first time in 3 years.
This is where it began, out here in Newcastle. I really like playing with mates that I grew up playing with, and always good to give back.
Norths have dominated the league in recent seasons and look to do so again today, racing out to a 2-0 lead. But perhaps inspired by Dwyer by their side, West rallied, putting their bodies on the line, and made a game of it, before being narrowly beaten by the defending champions. But for Newcastle hockey, the day was about so much more.
Newcastle was on my radar, that's for sure, and I wanted to come, and I knew it was a big hockey sort of community here, and I wanted to come and see how it was and and it was really good. Today I had so much fun out there. And
played over 350 games for Australia. He knows what he's doing, and the likes of him and Mark Knowles and the older players that have gone before us really take you under your wing and try to influence you to then influence the next gen.
Dawson now heads to Darwin for Kookaburra's duty against Pakistan, while Dwight will be doing more of this, giving back to the sport that made him an international star.
What you've got here in Newcastle is a pretty unique situation with 3 brilliant turfs and $10 million grant from the government to put in a new big stadium. I think it's an awesome opportunity for the city to really, and the hockey community, to keep building.
Day after day of rain, resulting in this. Chichester Dam jumping from 60% capacity to overflowing in just 72 hours.
We're very pleased to see that that dam level come up to 100 now.
It's come at a perfect time for Hunter Water.
Our water storages, which depleted 109 days straight, down to 75%, have now increased to above 80%.
And it's not just Chichester that's seen solid falls. Since this big wet began, Newcastle has seen 90 millimetres, Gosford 111 and Singleton 36. Great weather for dam levels, however.
Even though now we're at 80% in our total dam levels, that's still 10% less than what we were this time last year.
But those catchment levels will continue to climb with more rain on the way. Although it won't be as consistent early in the week, it'll ramp up towards the weekend with another low potentially forming off the coast. Meaning we could be seeing much more of this. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
He's no stranger to cheering crowds. But this was something special. A fundraiser all for Troy Miles.
Yeah, overwhelming. Completely overwhelming, you know.
I just can't believe it.
Yes.
We thought we were lucky to get 50 people to come.
More than 400 people helping to raise around $120,000. Friends, family and the football community.
Anybody that goes through a serious life injury or life-changing situation like I have or Troy has, a lot of other people, just really important that people get behind him and support. He's really important at this point.
For many, this is how they know Troy Miles. a former Lakes United and Knights player, as tough as they come.
Milesy has always been a fierce competitor, mentally and physically extremely strong.
And he's drawing on every ounce of that strength after being left a quadriplegic when he came off his motorbike last May.
It's ripped our whole family apart. We've got 3 beautiful boys and we're all being separated for the last nearly 10 months.
Despite a remarkable early recovery, he's been pushed to breaking point in recent weeks by debilitating seizures.
Seems to be getting worse as day goes on. Yeah, the spasms and just knocks me about and I lose more mobility.
But he's not losing hope, nor is anyone else.
I've seen tremendous acts of generosity over the last few months. It's inspiring to watch.
The money raised going straight to where it's needed.
So we've got to do modifications to the house, and we've also got, we've had to get another car, and we've got to get the car modified as well. But it's just the ongoing costs.
And an ongoing fight he's determined to win.
It's just nice to get home and be with the boys and be as a family and again.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
After 15 months of pain, uncertainty and hard work, today Owen Wright was back where he belongs.
We just pushed hard and went hard, and I confronted every fear of getting back into it, and I'm over the moon, and I'm just so stoked.
On top of the world after the most testing of climbs, and in emphatic fashion. Wright edging out his best mate and defending champion Matt Wilkinson on the Gold Coast.
Wilco's been supporting me the whole way through that injury, and he's been with me every step of the way. I obviously wanted to win, but I don't know, Owen's made me cry about 5 times this week. If anyone's going to beat me, I'm so glad it's you, dude. Oh, man.
Back on the sand, it all began to sink in. Chaired by his world champion sister Tyler and his brother Mikey, with his partner and baby by his side.
The second that baby got here, so it was just dad power.
It was a strong day all round for the Aussies. 6-time world champion Steph Gilmore reclaimed her snapper crown, beating America's Lakey Peterson.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I just visualised so much this event, just holding the trophy, and it feels so good. I can't believe it.
How much that home beach win meant to her was obvious.
Every single time you're walking down the beach, they're cheering for you, and it's just the greatest feeling in the world. You feel like you've won the heat before you've even paddled out.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
The visitors had a golden opportunity to hit the front in the opening minutes. But in a week where he's looking to solidify his place in the Socceroos lineup, Australia's greatest player made it 1-0. With coach Mark Jones already in the stands on a 1-game ban, skipper Nigel Bogard copped his 6th yellow card this season. Trailing at half-time, Newcastle had a decent chance shortly after the break. Instead, it was Melbourne that extended its lead. When Daniel Mullen brought down Bruce Kamau in the box, Bruno Fornaroli stepped up to make it 3-0. Not long after, the Uruguayan killed off the contest. Jack Duncan produced a strong finish to deny Fornaroli a hat-trick, but the visitors were left cursing a poor start to the game.
It's a tough place to come to at the best of times, and you get your 5, 6, sort of half chances and maybe 1 or 2 bigger chances, and we had that big chance early on and didn't execute. So it comes back to ultimately because you end up chasing the game.
He left the field in the 62nd minute after a second head knock, but rugby union great Peter Fitzsimons believes Elliott should have gone much earlier.
He is clearly 100%, absolutely no doubt about it, motherless. He is concussed.
He's challenging NRL officials to take action.
Look at that footage and tell us, how is it that guy was not removed from the field even for a head injury assessment, okay?
Nathan Brown has renewed calls for clubs to have an 18th man to replace injured players.
The game has got to address this because obviously with legal cases now coming up, doctors are more cautious, but we're not addressing the bigger problem. And the bigger problem is there's injured people being forced to stay in the field because we don't have any players left.
Brown wasn't critical of the referees even when his captain received 10 in the bin.
That's the wrong ruling. It just cost us a game. Trent, sit down. You can't say that.
If Trent spoke to the referee in the wrong manner, I've got no issue with what happened.
The Knights lost by 6, but a league legend says the officials did them no favours.
There's no way known that George Burgess should not have been sent off in this game after 22 minutes.
Shock and heartache for a mate gone in an instant.
We always like to maintain hope. However, at this stage, it's going towards a recovery operation.
23-year-old Mohsen Arwan, a Pakistani national studying at the University of Newcastle. He was taking a selfie on the shoreline at dusk last night when he and a friend were hit by a freak wave and swept out to sea.
But I only saw his arm, that's it. And I can see it's just gone because the way the waves were coming through, it was pretty high. It was a bit disturbing. If you see that, it was really disturbing.
Chirag Modi was playing on the beach with his son.
The water actually pulled them right through from there to literally there.
He raised the alarm. 2 men sprang into action, saving Mr. Arwan's friend who climbed onto a rock, but there was no sign of him.
They worked hard, but it was hard. It was too late. It was like 30 seconds, it was too late.
The ordeal has sent shockwaves through Newcastle's Pakistani community.
He's a nice person. He was new in Newcastle. He was new in Australia. He was very down to earth, and yeah, he was a nice person.
Attention now turning to contacting Mr. Arwan's family back home.
We've had a number of contacts with the High Commissioner's office today, and that will be ongoing. The uni are also working with the office.
Miraculously, the second man swept into the water escaped injury, but has been treated for shock.
The other guy who was inside the water, he was literally crying like anything. He was yelling, he was trying to save him, but he couldn't because I'm not sure whether he knew the swimming or not.
He's not in good position. He's in tragic phase he's going through.
And Samuel Jonan joins us live now from Nobby's Beach. Sam, where's the search up to?
Well, it's finished for the day now, Tash, but we'll resume first thing tomorrow morning. Authorities have spent the day looking, using all the resources at their disposal. Helicopters have circled the coast, while surf lifesavers were also brought in. But at around lunchtime, the search was scaled back. As you've just heard, it's now moving towards a recovery operation.
In a fast-paced world, how often do you stop and think?
What is consciousness? How is it generated? We take it for granted. You wake up in the morning and you have this wonderful inner world that no one else can share. Yeah. What is it? How does it come about?
Renowned neuroscientist Professor Susan Greenfield is visiting from Oxford University to give Australians some food for thought. Has our reliance on technology actually changed the way we think? What impact is it having on our brain?
If you're in a rush, If you're told that it's more important you do something quickly, that you press the right button or you're turning yourself in a way into a second-rate computer. Computers do it better than us.
The Baroness, who runs a biopharmaceutical company, dedicates much of her work to combating degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
The problem has been that people wait till a patient presents with a cognitive impairment like memory loss and so on. But the problem is that the degeneration has started 10 to 20 years before that stage has been reached. So anything you then do is a bit like closing the door after the horse has bolted.
Her team has identified what it believes is a pivotal chemical in the brain which becomes elevated in Alzheimer's sufferers. The dream, while still a way off, is a simple blood test to identify those at risk of the disease.
It has to be a test that gives you a direct readout of what the brain's doing, and then we need to have a drug that stops it in its tracks. Anyone whose life is touched by this, we are on the case, and even if we're not right, at least we've got a new disruptive approach, we're trying, yeah?
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
This is Team Carbon Crusaders, just back from Sydney after performing above all expectations in the first robotics competition's regional event. Country kids up against the best of the best.
It was exciting but stressful. There was a lot going on. We didn't really have a chance to relax, I guess.
And they proved more than up to the challenge. With their trusty robot Fang, the squad of 7 from several Upper Hunter high schools made it to the final and won a wild card to compete on the competition's biggest stage, the World Championships in Houston, USA.
It's actually really exciting to go. It's going to be pretty fun going over there and competing with the other teams.
The event is on in the April school holidays and, robot wars aside, the team is facing a big battle, raising enough money to get there.
We're trying to raise at least around about $60,000 so our whole team can travel. We also need to ship our robot to America.
They're desperately seeking sponsors.
We're really hopeful that we can do well at the World Championships and put Muswellbrook on the map and let everybody know where the Upper Hunter is in New South Wales.
If you can help the Carbon Crusaders get to America, head to their Facebook page or contact Muswellbrook High School.
If you're thinking Sage Murdoch looks too young to drive a car, you're right. But the Newcastle High student is already a deft hand on the racetrack. Just 15, he's about to become one of the youngest drivers to line up in the National Formula 4 Championship.
That's basically Formula 1, but a bit smaller.
Sage will make his debut next month at Sandown. A 150-kilometre run at Wakefield Park last week proved a good confidence booster. Despite his tender years, Sage has experience in open-wheel racing.
I did a bit of go-karting and then I went into Formula V, did the Nationals. got the Rookie of the Year, and I applied for a scholarship, and now I'm training.
He's training outside of school hours, both on and off the track.
Squats, push-ups. I do a lot of surfing as well, so yeah, that helps.
It was a trip to the Melbourne Grand Prix that first inspired the Year 9 student to hit the track.
I just like to watch a lot of Formula One, and it just drove me to get there. Yeah.
And you thought I could have a go at that?
I could have a go at that, yeah. It looks heaps of fun, yeah.
No surprise then what the ultimate goal is.
To make it to Formula One.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
防线啊，多少显得有点风声鹤唳。这边头球攻门，球进了，青年队就破门了，进球的就是球队的。